Yes, I taught myself English.
How did you teach yourself English?
Now this looks...
Hi, I'm Damien, and I'm the sledgehammer that smashes down English language barriers. And one of those barriers can be listening. And in this episode, we're going to find out RM's method for learning English. Let's hit it. Before we start, if you don't know already, RM is a world-famous K-pop singer from BTS. He can also sing a bit in English. Okay, let's see what he says about learning English.
So we have an interpreter just in case I need one, but you actually, RM, you speak English, right?
Yes.
So pretty well. You taught yourself English?
Yes, I taught myself English.
How did you teach yourself English?
Actually, my English teacher was the sitcom, Friends.
Oh, you
It's
watched
legendary.
Friends?
Yes.
So was it mainly just phrases then, or you just learned everything?
I think, back in the days, like when I was like 15, like 14,
Yeah.
it was quite like a syndrome for all the Korean parents to make their kids watch the Friends.
Really?
So yeah, I thought I was kind of like a victim at that time, but but right now I'm the lucky one.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
like thanks to my mother, she bought all the seasons for DVDs. It got 10 DVDs, right?
Right.
She bought me, and so firstly I watched with the Korean subtitle. And then next time I watched with the English subtitle, and then I just removed it.
That's very impressive, and friends would be very happy that you learned.
So, is it possible to learn English by just watching Friends? Well, yes and no. In my time as an English teacher, I have seen some natural learners of English. They're really good at learning languages. One example that has always stuck in my mind, there was this young student who was maybe about 4 years old, and her parents brought her into the school and said, "Could you tell us what language she's speaking?" So the parents couldn't speak any English at all, only Thai, and they were confused whenever their daughter spoke because they couldn't understand what she was saying. And when I interviewed her, she had really good English. But the strange thing was, she'd had no input from her parents. So how did she get like that? Well, she was watching a lot of YouTube videos. So it seems that yes, you could learn English by maybe just watching Friends. And more specifically, what about the technique of RM? He did some really good things. So he watched it, multiple times with the subtitles in, I think, Korean, and he watched it with English, and then he watched it with no subtitles. And that's a really good technique, because a lot of students just, watch something once and then move on to the next resource or activity. When to really learn something or get used to the intonation and pronunciation or new vocabulary, you need like repeated exposures or repeated watching of the same thing. So what are the problems of his technique? Well, he's not really balanced across all the skills. If he's only doing listening, then he's not really producing any English. So his listening skills might have got really good, but he could still have some problems with the productive skills like speaking and writing. So how would I advise you to use RM's Friends learning technique? Well, more broadly, or more generally, I would get him to balance his study across the 4 strands, which is Paul Nation's way of organising your study time. So instead of spending all your time on, listening or reading, then you need to do 25% on input, such as reading and listening or Friends, and then 25% on output, which is to do with, speaking and writing. And then we have 25% on language work, which could be grammar and vocabulary, like flashcards, for example. And finally, you have fluency, which is basically getting better at all those skills, input and output. And then secondly, I would add a few more stages into RM's learning method to get the most out of it. By this stage, you'll feel like you're one of the friends. And your English will be as good as RM's, if not better. If you want some more English practice, then try this listening challenge. And as I like to say, start taking your English mask off today. See you later.